Welcome back to Alice Customs Project Car TV. We have yet another new project for you. 57 Chevy, and this is for a local customer who needs floors and rocker panels, probably at least one quarter panel, although I think we can patch one of them. So we'll see about that. The car's already been blasted, and then it's in a primer sealer at this point, or a primer, like an epoxy primer, I believe. So anyway, basically the white stuff is kind of what they figured was staying, and the rest of the stuff is what's, for the most part, coming off or needs quite a bit of work. Sitting in front here, I have the frame and the trunk floor, the main floor, some rocker panels, some patch panels, a new transmission tunnel because they are going to a LS engine and probably a 4L80E. Got a smooth firewall for it. So quite a few items, and we're going to get the floors and everything set up on the frame and make sure everything lines up and is correct for this frame before we get started welding it into the body and find out that we have a problem. Depending on how much time all that takes, we may get started cutting some floor and some other stuff out. It's been braced up, and it looks like it's got a pretty good job doing that. So anyway, that's what you're in store for. 57 Chevy, more sheet metal, more cutting out rust and welding in the new stuff. So normally, I would do this the way you've seen me do the Mustang, I don't know, however many other vehicles. And because we're doing this much steel, what we would do is put this up on a jig and make all the mounting points for the jig match, set the floor up, set up the trunk pan, weld them together, and work all of this while it was inside the body. On this one, I'm out of jigs and other tables and other equipment. The owner's kind of wanting this one back fairly quickly. So, and they're a repeat customer, so you try and take care of them where you can. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to make some probably 12 or 18 inch tall mounts that we can bolt this floor to the frame with. And a piece of pipe in there, a piece of all thread, and we'll use the factory bolt locations and basically use the frame as our jig. It lets us make it roll around. Then we'll take the body, cut out all of the floor all the way to the inner rockers. We'll leave the outer rockers in place, and we'll leave all of the inner structure that we can in place, plus all the bracing that's been added, and we'll set it down over this off the lift, get it welded in, and then go back and replace the outer rockers and either patch or replace quarter panels, and then we can do we'll probably go ahead and get the inner fender wells in here as well, but then we can replace the outer fender wells. So basically we're going to use the frame as the jig. once I got the floor out of the way, the little strips of metal that you leave on the edges that are for all the pinch welds, I've cut all that away, ground it down to where it's smooth. And even though we're not going to be using these rocker panels, we have replacements because these are in terrible shape. I did want to leave them in place so that it helps me get everything aligned, get the car in the right place on the floor before we, cut them away, and then the frame the body could flex in different directions. So basically the last thing I need to do now that I've got it off the rotisserie is cut out this tail section. This is where the rear body mounts are, and that's what was attaching it to the rotisserie. So we've got it up on the lift. I'll lower it down to where I can reach it, and then I'm going to cut that rear cross member out. Before I do that, I'll need to put in a brace across there to keep the quarter panels from flaring out. And once that's done and the welds are cleaned up, then we can roll the frame under here and with the floor pans on it. I have a little bit of work to do on the floor pans. I'll show you that, and then we can roll it under, set the body on it, and start figuring out where we can tack it in. So let's get this piece out. So on the passenger side of the car, we're going to have to melt this lead out of here because this quarter panel, while it has some damage, I think it's savable. The driver's side is not. It's so bad that we're just going to cut it out. Plus it's all rotted through here anyway, so we'll just cut where we need to, roughly where the seam should be. But this side, because we do want to try and save the quarter panel, it's got some rot in it, but I think a single patch panel will fix the passenger side. So let me let me get a torch, melt this out of here, catch it. Pretty sure that's lead, so put on my rebreather, my breathing stuff, and get that melted out, and then we can cut this panel and the interior panel. We have both the outside and the interior. Well, in fact, the one on the inside is part of the floor, so it's already attached over there, so we just need to get it out of the way completely. But we'll cut this outer panel out of the way as well, and then one less step to do. All right, so I was about ready to roll the floor under, and really started looking at some of the rust spots that are inside the car. I fixed one that was in the trunk. It was just a hole about the size of a quarter, so I fixed an area around it. And then this corner is real bad here in the front passenger footwell. So what I'm going to do is leave the lip here, and then cut up and around the details so that we leave that impression and we don't have to go back to the bead roller and try and recreate it. And then we'll just cut around it, put a new piece of 16 gauge in there, and then we can rebuild the lip once we have the floor in here to figure out exactly which direction it should go. Since it was all rusted out so far, we couldn't save it. So we'll get some of this crap out of here. So we've got to split it from this cowl side and all the way over into here. Although I think we're going to leave this alone until we replace the rocker panel, and we'll do this whole corner at one time with the rocker panel, the new rocker panel already in place. So for now, we're just going to do the floor part. There's the piece we're going to replace, and it has to continue down here, and then that's where the lip is, so we'll just make a new lip later. And then we need to add about 3/4 of an inch on this side to make up for the part that goes into the body panel, into the pinch weld. So remove the flange from the inside that was part of the floor. I drilled all the way through. We'll use those holes to weld the new one back down. And, you know, we may have to weld from both sides or something. But now let's take a flap wheel, clean this up a little bit, tap the floor where I bent it, trying to get this out of there. And then we can come back, clean up the edges here, and weld in a new panel using our old one as the pattern. Alright, so it took me another 10, 15, well, probably 20 minutes to finish welding this and grind all the weld off. We still have part of the flange to build, but until we kind of know where the floor is at, we're just kind of picking it out into space there. So rather than guessing and having to redo it, we'll just wait till it's on here, and then we'll make the last little section of the lip and weld it all on. Other than that, it took me about 10 minutes to get the frame rolled under here and then get it centered up. And you know, if you had two people, it's light enough you can slide it, but one old man, it's kind of hard. Anyway, so we're ready to lower this thing down. I've made all the interior or all of the panels that we're not replacing a whole panel. I've replaced, you know, I've made the patches here, back here in the trunk. So we're ready. Get this thing down, line it up. I've got the trunk pan is laying in place where it's supposed to be, but it's not attached to the floor pan, so that I can move it around a little bit. Once I'm happy with all that, I'll drill few 1/8" holes, cleco it in place, and then we'll go back and start spot welding that, as well as welding it to the body. We only have about 2 feet, probably a little less than that, between the B-pillar and where the wheel well goes. And then we have a little bit at the trunk, way back behind the tire. And yeah, I guess right here, this flange up front on both sides that we can weld to. So it's still going to be pretty loose until we get the rockers replaced. But at least with that, we can then unbolt it from the frame and lift the whole thing up, and it won't be moving around. Okay, so after about 5 new burns from the MIG welder and maybe 150 spot welds, most of which I'll need to grind down and flush out to make pretty, so that, like in some of these areas, so that trim or something can go over them. Haven't done that part yet, but the body and the floor are now one again. Still got a few things. I found a couple more little areas of rust pinholes that I just couldn't see them before, or didn't see them or something, that I need to fix back there. I need to finish making the little lip up here now that I have the floor to build it to. I haven't welded where the transmission tunnel is, because we're replacing the transmission tunnel once we do the firewall. So really what's next is I need to mount the trunk lid so I can work on that trim panel that goes below the trunk lid, and I need to mount the doors so that I can work on the rocker panels. So both of those are probably going to happen next week. And for now, I'm tired. You've seen me cut the floor out of here. You've seen me put a new floor in. I think that's enough for one video. So thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. Hit the bell for notifications. All the other YouTube stuff. Comment. Hey, let me know what you think. You like 57 Chevys? I don't know. Talk. See you again next time. Thanks.